Russia has launched yet another huge strike against Ukraine, sending hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles across the border at towns and cities throughout the country, including Kyiv, as well as major hubs like Kharkiv and Dnipro. This is the same kind of nightly onslaught Ukraine has endured for months, the sort that frequently produces mass casualties and widespread devastation, with apartment blocks and other buildings reduced to rubble. Yet this time Ukraine was ready. Its answer was fast and ruthless, a clear show of how far its defenses have evolved. The assault unfolded overnight from October 9th into the early hours of October 10th, when the Kremlin once again unleashed an enormous aerial barrage, deploying close to 500 air-launched threats in a single wave. More precisely, Russia combined ballistic and cruise missiles with Shahed-type and other attack drones. Ukraine's Air Force counted 497 aerial threats in total, 465 drones of multiple types and 32 missiles, made even more dangerous by the fact they arrived from several directions. Drones and missiles crossed Ukraine's borders from the north, east, and even the south, originating from Russia's Kursk, Milorova, Shatulova, Orel, Shakhty, and Primorsko-Akhtarsk regions. Leading the way were 200 Iranian-made Shahed drones, with more swarms following. Russia also launched 2 Kinzhal ballistic missiles from the Lipetsk area, 14 Iskander-M ballistic missiles capable of reaching more than 5,000 miles per hour, roughly 7 times the speed of sound, 12 Iskander-K cruise missiles, and 4 additional Kh-59/69 air-launched guided missiles. This was not only a massive attack, it was one built around a highly varied arsenal, which made it far tougher to counter because those weapons don't share identical flight profiles or behavior. Each type behaves differently and demands its own tailored response to intercept before impact. If Ukraine only had to face 500 Shaheds and nothing else, it would know precisely how fast those drones fly, their endurance, and what they can do, allowing defenders to quickly deploy the best counters and likely shoot down nearly all of them with minimal damage. Likewise, if there were only one missile type to manage, Ukrainian crews could identify the model and choose the right counters accordingly. But when Russia mixes so many drones and missiles, flying at different speeds, altitudes, and patterns, defenders face a far more complex high-pressure puzzle. No single system or tactic can neutralize such a diverse attack. Ukraine has to react rapidly and proactively with equal diversity, matching the right tool to each incoming threat at the right moment. That variety is precisely the point. Russia used multiple drone types, missile classes, and launch vectors to confuse and overrun Ukraine's defenses, almost certainly expecting large-scale destruction, dozens of buildings wrecked and heavy casualties, and hoping to glean intelligence on any weak links in Ukraine's air defense network to exploit in follow-on strikes. On paper, Moscow had reasons to be confident. Attacks like this are notoriously difficult to stop. Most countries, including military heavyweights, would struggle to defend against an assault of this magnitude. Even nations with some of the world's largest defense budgets and strongest armies are still learning how to handle the new era of mass drone warfare and haven't fully mastered the tactics needed to withstand such intense, unpredictable aerial barrages. A recent incident underscored this point when Russian drones entered Polish airspace. Poland's Air Force, supported by NATO allies, scrambled jets but downed only 4 drones despite an estimated 19 to 23 entering. If Poland, or any other NATO state, were suddenly faced with hundreds of drones plus missiles, those ad hoc tactics would fall short. Ukraine is different because it has been living this reality for a long time. It has endured wave after wave of drone and missile strikes. Only a month ago, it weathered the war's biggest Russian strike to date. Over 800 Shahed-type drones and 13 cruise and ballistic missiles targeting Kyiv and other cities on the night of September 7th. Earlier this month came another enormous attack, more than 500 attack drones and over 50 missiles hitting regions including Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk, Zaporizhzhia, Chernihiv, Kharkiv, Kherson, Sumy, Kirovohrad, and Odessa. This is the grim status quo of the war. Each week brings fresh reports of record-breaking barrages. Thousands of drones and hundreds of missiles have entered Ukrainian airspace every month in 2025, and there is little sign this intensity will diminish soon. So when Russian commanders ordered yet another multi-vector strike on October 9th, they likely expected to sit back and await reports of direct hits, wrecked infrastructure, and dozens, if not hundreds, more innocent Ukrainian civilians killed or injured. But the outcome was not what Moscow or President Vladimir Putin had in mind. Ukraine not only has more experience than any other country at enduring massive regular drone attacks, it has also become one of the best in the world at defeating them. That is exactly what played out. Despite the daunting scope of the assault, Ukraine's integrated air defense network, spanning mobile fire groups, electronic warfare teams, fighter aviation, and surface-to-air missile brigades, moved quickly and cohesively. By 10 a.m. on October 10th, Ukrainian forces had neutralized almost every single aerial threat. In total, they destroyed or suppressed 420 targets, including 405 enemy drones and multiple missiles, a Kinzhal, 4 Iskander-Ms, 9 Iskander-Ks, and a Kh-5969. The Air Force Command of the Armed Forces of Ukraine confirmed this in an official Facebook post, noting that from 1900 on October 9th, the enemy launched a combined strike using strike UAVs and air and ground-launched missiles, and that radio-technical troops tracked 497 air attack assets, 32 missiles, and 465 UAVs of various types. The attack was repelled by aviation, air defense missile troops, EW and unmanned systems units, and mobile fire groups. According to preliminary data, as of 10 a.m., air defenses shot down or suppressed 420 air targets, including Shahid/Jaran type UAVs and others, 1 Kh-47M2 Dagger air ballistic missile, 4 Iskander M9K720 ballistic missiles, 9 Iskander-K cruise missiles, and 1 Kh-59-69 guided air-launched missile. In addition, 4 enemy missiles failed to reach their targets and went off course, with impact points being clarified. Direct hits by 13 missiles and 60 strike UAVs were recorded at 19 locations, and debris from downed threats fell at 7 sites. Not only did Ukraine remove nearly 85% of Russia's aerial weapons from the sky, several more missiles never hit anything at all, leaving just a small fraction, 13 missiles and 60 drones, able to inflict damage. This underscores how remarkably capable Ukraine has become at resisting Russia's air campaigns and how formidable its multi-layered air defense umbrella now is, built on domestic innovations and crucial support from allies across NATO and the wider West. Perhaps the most striking detail is that Ukraine downed a Kinzhal, one of the fastest ballistic missiles in existence, able to reach around Mach 10 or more than 7,600 miles per hour, showing that Ukrainian defenders are employing Western-supplied systems like Patriot and SAMP-T with great skill to counter missiles once billed as unstoppable. Each successful intercept of this kind erodes Russian confidence and undermines any remaining belief in a strategic edge. It also validates Ukraine's overall approach, proving the country is on the right trajectory, growing stronger and more resilient with every passing week. Of course, despite these encouraging signs, some drones and missiles slipped through and caused damage. President Volodymyr Zelensky detailed the impact on X, noting that recovery continued at many critical infrastructure sites after a cynical, calculated strike that used more than 450 drones and over 30 missiles to target everything that sustains normal life. Over 20 people were reported injured nationwide, all receiving assistance, and tragically a child was killed in Zaporizhzhia, a stark reminder that even when most threats are stopped, those that slip past interceptors, EW systems, and mobile fire units can still cause terrible harm. Zelensky added that crews in Kyiv were restoring power and water. Outages were reported in the Kyiv, Donetsk, Chernihiv, Cherkasy, Kharkiv, Sumy, Poltava, Odessa, and Dnipro regions, while Zaporizhzhia, Kirovohrad, and Kherson were also recovering. All relevant services were working, and first responders were active wherever needed. He was receiving constant updates from ministers and local officials and demanded maximum efficiency at all levels. He condemned Moscow's choice to attack civilians and energy infrastructure rather than legitimate military targets and urged allies in Europe and North America to deliver air defense systems and enforce sanctions, calling for decisive action from the United States, Europe, and the G7 and a broader response from the G20 and others who speak of peace but hesitate to act. The world can defend itself against these crimes, he said, and doing so will bolster global security. Ukraine will undoubtedly benefit from additional allied support to withstand whatever comes next. Meanwhile, the events of October 9th showed Kyiv is doing a remarkable job of defending its territory and blunting much of the Kremlin's threat. Neutralizing hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles in a single night requires extraordinary air defenses, technology, strategy, and coordination. Yet that is what Ukraine accomplished on October 9th and on many other occasions in recent weeks. On October 5th, for example, Russia launched a similarly massive strike with close to 550 aerial attack objects from multiple directions, and Ukrainian air defenses repelled 478 targets, including 439 Shahed/Garan drones, a Kinzhal, 32 Iskander-K cruise missiles, and 6 Kalibr cruise missiles. This pattern repeats. Russia fires hundreds of drones, Ukraine shoots down nearly all of them, turning millions, perhaps billions of dollars in Russian hardware into scrap. Losses still occur, and Ukrainians have mourned thousands of civilian deaths this year alone. The situation remains neither stable nor sustainable, but the Ukrainian armed forces' ability to stop well over 80% of incoming threats is cause for measured optimism. It cannot save every life, or every building, but it drastically limits the damage Russia's drones and missiles can do. And overall, Ukraine appears to be getting better at mass drone interdiction and at reducing casualties and destruction with each subsequent attack. While Russia persists with reckless, ruthless strikes on civilian infrastructure, hospitals, homes, power facilities, Ukraine replies with far more surgically effective operations of its own. Only days after this episode, on October 13th, Ukrainian drones hit the largest Russian oil depot in the Crimean port city of Feodosia, igniting a massive blaze. A source within the security service of Ukraine told the Kyiv Independent that at least 5 storage tanks were hit and that a large-scale fire was burning across the depot. Footage shot by locals showed towering flames and thick black smoke billowing over the city. Residents said the glow was visible from far away, and the SBU source added that a nearby electrical substation was damaged, along with another substation in Simferopol. The SBU emphasized that it is systematically degrading the enemy's military, logistics, and economic capacity to wage war. For its part, Russia's defense ministry claimed to have shot down more than 100 Ukrainian drones across Russian regions and occupied Ukrainian territories, including 40 over Crimea. Even so, those efforts failed to prevent the strike on this vital oil facility, and it's impossible to say how much fuel literally went up in flames. The Feodosia complex, a multifunctional site for transferring oil and petroleum products among railcars, ships, and road tankers, can hold a staggering 250,000 tons of fuel, making it a critical cog in the Kremlin's war machine, supplying everything from jeeps to tanks, aircraft, generators, and more. Reports indicated the site was still burning a day later, with a huge smoke column visible from miles away. Local media and the Crimean Wind Channel reported poisonous smoke hanging over the city, visible from Stary Krim, about 25 kilometers away, and the smell evident 10 kilometers from the fire. They also noted that more than 800 people were evacuated, 6 fuel tanks were ablaze, and a colossal plume, roughly 36 kilometers long, stretched across Crimea toward the Kerch Peninsula, illustrating the scale of the inferno. The contrast in methods is stark. Russia throws everything it has at dispersed targets across Ukraine, leaning on brute force to overwhelm defenses and damage anything in its path, including civilians and non-military infrastructure. Ukraine chooses targets carefully, dismantling key segments of Russia's fuel infrastructure one by one to sow chaos. The results speak for themselves. Russia now faces an unprecedented fuel crisis, with prices reportedly jumping by 50% or more in some regions and many gas stations forced to shut down or ration fuel types and quantities. The Feodosia strikes will only deepen that crisis, pushing the Kremlin into an even more desperate bind. For deeper context on this operation and how it fits Ukraine's broader energy targeting strategy, watch our recent explainer or see how Russia's supposedly invincible T-90M tanks fared on Ukrainian battlefields. Spoiler, many didn't last a day. And remember to subscribe to stay current on this war and other critical military developments worldwide.